Hello and welcome to Three Questions With. Got my friend Alysa with us from a People Partner. Good morning, Alysa. How you doing?
Morning, Kevin. Doing great. Thanks for having me.
So I saw you did a post the other day about microaggressions, which intrigued me because I was interested in the topic. But can we start at the beginning and tell people what are microaggressions in case you're not familiar with the term?
Yeah, so microaggression is, considered an indirect or subtle or maybe even unintentional discrimination of some members of a marginalized group, right? So they can be words, remarks, questions, actions that are painful because this person's affiliation or membership into a specific group or stereotype. And so it the hard part is people think, they may have made this microaggression. So again, those indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination comments or remarks, it may not be that they're doing it intentionally. They very well could be, but they may not know that they're doing it. And so it's just important for us to know what they are and how to avoid them in all situations, not just at work.
But it's true because I've worked with people. I feel just like death by a thousand paper cuts. They always just have that one little thing they say to you that makes you feel bad, makes you feel like they're better than you. They do it in a way that it doesn't feel like it's on purpose, but sometimes you're like, yeah, it clearly is. Based on how often you're doing it, it's clearly on purpose.
Well, and I'll the only point I'll say to that is it's not maybe that they're doing it on purpose. It's maybe that they're doing it and they don't know better, right? So if nobody is educating them, think about, we have these biases that we create based on how we grew up, where we grew up, what who educated us, right? And not just in terms of the people, but what are our families' beliefs? What are our, in the communities you grew up in, were they predominantly one race, one gender, one whatever, right? And so we create these things, and we have sayings in our families that we may have just perpetuated, not really fully understanding the pain or harm that they could be causing to other people. And so then we start using them, and if nobody is telling us, hey, that's not appropriate, or hey, you're maybe hurting or harming people and you don't even realize it, right? Then they're not even going to know. But it's when you tell them and they still refuse to change, or when they get defensive because they're thinking you're calling them racist, or you're calling them homophobic, or you're calling them, right, if you're trying to say, hey, you're making this and this is harmful to these people, they don't want to feel like they're something that they don't want to be, right? But it's just saying, hey, you may not have realized you've done it, it's okay, right? Here's what you can do differently next time.
Now, what if I'm a bystander for this, Alysa? Because we've all been in that situation where someone makes a comment about someone and you're like, ugh, but you don't want to maybe say anything because you don't want to get involved, or you're like, so what do you do? Because we know we have to take action. Because to me, if you say it and I don't correct you, I'm just as guilty. That's how I personally feel about it.
100%. And you have to remember that if you're, especially you, Kevin, as a white male, right? If you hear something that is that is sort of a discriminatory, subtle comment or remark about somebody who is, a person of color, right? Think about how uncomfortable that is for them. And if they are the ones that have to continually speak up, they're already uncomfortable potentially in a room where they're the minority, right? And so imagine how much harder that is for them to understand, and have to deal with the repercussions potentially of that, of speaking up. So what I recommend is that if you're witness to a microaggression at work, at home, and you're in a public place, speak up about it, call it out, disarm the situation. And if you're not comfortable being the one that directly talks to that person, seek help from an outside authority figure or from another person. And it's all about educating, right? So maybe you don't call it out directly in the meeting. Maybe you go back to that person's office and you say, I just want to mention that you said this thing, and here's why it's harmful. And I think that here's another way that you could make a change. Here's a different way that you could say that, or a different way that you could communicate your message without, being discriminatory toward women, right? And so it's just about the education piece, but speaking up and calling it out, disarming, educating, and if you need help, reach out to an outside authority.
But this feels like something that companies should have some training around too. Because like you said, sometimes it's just my family always used that expression. I don't even really know what it means. When they're using something, you're like, I'd have to Google it to know what it really means. But my dad and mom always said it, so I said it, and now I'm in trouble.
Yeah, it really should be training, right? And what that training is some examples of microaggressions, right? I'll name a few. Do you guys want to go out for lunch, right? I have been actively trying to take the word guys in that context out of my vocabulary, because multiple genders might be represented. So then that's not effective, right? If you're saying things like, you aren't like other Black people I know, right? Well, every person is different. So you're saying that all Black people are the same, right? You speak good English for somebody that maybe is not native to this country, right? Again, those are things that you might think are harmless. You say them and you don't realize the impact, but you're stereotyping a particular group of people. And so having trainings where you talk about, here are examples of microaggressions. Here are different ways that you can communicate and be less harmful.
I was smiling at your guys because that's mine too. I do it in lecture hall. Hey guys, we're going to start class now. It's because, hey students, just now just, hey everyone, but again, it's being respectful to the people in the room, not everyone's a guy and stuff, but I still catch myself on that one. I'm like, don't do that, and I'll hear people, presenting, and it's a natural go-to. All right, guys, I'm going to start my presentation now. And it's like, be respectful. It's, hey everyone, using different words and stuff. But it's learning to make the adjustments, right? At the end of the day.
Learning to make the adjustments, right? And again, understanding that if somebody calls this out to educate you, or to call it out to help you so that you're providing less harm, they are not calling you a bad person. They are not telling you you're racist or homophobic or whatever. They're trying to help you so that you're creating less harm and that people feel more comfortable in your presence, right? So it's not a direct attack on you as a person. It's just education, and we all need to be educated.
That's a perfect way to end the segment. So Alysa, what's the best way for people to reach out to you? How can they learn more if they have questions?
Check out apeoplepartnerllc.com. That's where all my contact information is, my updated podcast episodes, my newsletters, all of that fun stuff. But you can always reach out to me that way, and then you'll get my information to get to my LinkedIn as well.
Beautiful. I appreciate you taking a few minutes calling the show. And as always, thanks for being my friend.
Thank you.